So, remember that conversation we had about the New York Rangers and a potential trade for Phil Kessel? Yeah, that was a thing that we talked about on the channel, and it actually has been a pretty prominent idea presenting itself in several forms of hockey media, in writing and Twitter posts and social media posts, etc. With the New York Rangers being as good as they are in the NHL standings right now, let's go ahead and pull that up right here. So, the Rangers in the Metropolitan Division are third with 29 points in 20 games played. They have themselves a 5-point lead on the Penguins with 1 game in hand, so really good for them, just behind some very good teams in Washington and in Carolina too. But with the New York Rangers being as good as they are, and with the idea proposed to us a few weeks ago, was it a few weeks ago? It was a few days ago for sure. It was probably like a week and a half ago, something like that, by, I believe it was Arthur Staple, suggesting the idea of the Rangers trading for another forward with the injury to Sammy Blais. We have ourselves some discussion to go on about who could be that replacement. Now, before we head into our topic for today's video, the guy that we want to talk about who could be that fit, aside from, of course, Phil Kessel, whom we already discussed, we need to discuss who is already in that spot. Right now, because Alexis Lafreniere got demoted to the bottom 6, Dryden Hunt is your top 6 right-wing player alongside of Panarin and Strome. Now, Dryden Hunt, I know a lot of you who aren't Rangers fans would probably be like, okay, who the heck is that? The guy actually hasn't been too bad. He scored a goal the other day for the Rangers against, I believe it was the Pittsburgh Penguins? No, it was the Boston Bruins. That's who it was. Yeah, he had a goal and an assist in that game. He actually has looked pretty okay in that role so far. But, of course, long term, do you want to go out there and say that Dryden Hunt is going to be your top 6 guy, or do you want to go out there and use some of the extra cap space you have to try to maybe acquire another forward? That's why the entire Phil Kessel thing has been brought up, and we have ourselves a few other guys who could be a potential suitor for that role as well. Our focus today is going over onto an article on NHL.com written by Dan Rosen. This is his mailbag from November 24th. Do you see the Rangers kicking tires on Phil Kessel? They have around $8 million in cap space, and Kessel is on the last year of his deal. They could use a goal scorer to play on a line with Zibanejad and Kreider, or is there any chance for Reilly Smith if the Vegas Golden Knights need to clear cap space now that they have Eichel? Today's video is going over another guy who is in... Do I say the desert? Is Nevada a desert? I mean, it's closer to a desert than not being a desert. Let's just say for the sake of argument, it's a desert. We're staying in the desert, from Arizona to Vegas, and talking about Reilly Smith of the Golden Knights over here. One of the acquisitions by this team at the very beginning, who has been a long-lasting impact player with this team, and he is being tossed in these rumors as well. This is what Dan Rosen writes about when it comes to the Rangers and acquiring another forward. They will have options when it comes time to make a move for a forward, which I have every reason to believe will happen at some point. It makes sense for them to look for one on an expiring contract because of the NHL salary cap constraints they have coming. Adam Fox's cap goes from $900,000 to $9.5 million next season. Zibanejad's goes up $3 million to $8.5 million, and Kaapo Kakko will also need a new contract. Now, before going over the paragraph highlighting Reilly Smith, let's go over who exactly he is and his profile at the moment. Reilly Smith, 30 years old, 6 feet, 185. He can play left, he can play right. He's making $5 million till the end of this season. He does not have a modified no-trade clause anymore. He had that the past 3 seasons. He does not have that for 21-22. This season, he has 15 points in 21 games played, so he's under a point per game. Really good to see that bounce-back year. He was at half a point a game last season for the Golden Knights in both the regular season and the playoffs, after being a consistent 50-60 point guy with the Golden Knights ever since that team's inception. It's good to see that his scoring ways are coming back in a more consistent, thorough way than they had been before, and he is one of the many wingers that the Vegas Golden Knights have that you would say is a position of strength for that team. With Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty and Marcia So and Evgeny Dadonov, you have yourselves a pretty good forward core over here, and Reilly Smith is second on the team in points right now. However, the Vegas Golden Knights have a few players that they're waiting to come back. They've got Alec Martinez on the injury reserve. They've got Nolan Patrick there too. On the LTIR, they have themselves Jack Eichel, William Karlsson. These are 2 guys that are very, very important pieces to their hockey team. And when it comes to the cap, I mean, the Golden Knights have about $6 million of cap space right now, and they've used about $10 million in their LTIR. This team is going to have to make some moves once Eichel, once Karlsson, once Martinez are all coming back. And so, where do you go from here? There are indeed some articles. This is what the Las Vegas Sun said a few days ago. Justin Emerson believes the Golden Knights can shed around $3 million by moving off Jonas Rongberg, Jake Leschyshyn, Michael Amadio, and Ben Hutton. A $5 million winger such as Reilly Smith or Evgeny Dadonov could become a cost-cutting casualty as well, with Reilly Smith seeming as the likely candidate, as he is slated to become a UFA in July. I'll leave a link to this Las Vegas Sun article as well as the Spectres hockey article that summarizes the piece, but Reilly Smith is being seen as that trade candidate because he no longer has a modified no trade. He is expiring at the end of the season. He's making $5 million, which is not insignificant, and he is legitimately a really good scorer. The problem is, when you have Jack Eichel and Karlsson and all them coming back, would you rather say you would have an Eichel or a Reilly Smith on your forward core? I get it, they're different positions, but still. This is what Dan Rosén says back to the NHL.com article about Reilly Smith and whether or not the Rangers could benefit from a guy like this. I like the idea of Smith more than Kessel because he's more versatile than Kessel, and his connection and history with Rangers coach Gerard Gallant from their time together with the Golden Knights is important too. Vegas is going to be in the playoff race, but will need cap relief when it's time to activate Eichel, which will likely be immediately after the 2022 Beijing Olympics in late February. The NHL's 2022 trade deadline is March 21st, and Smith is in the last season of his contract. There are indeed some other names to look forward to, like Calle Jarnkrok of the Kraken, Andreas Athanasiou of the Kings, and Sanford of the Senators as well, not to mention all the other guys that we had highlighted in a previous Staples piece as well. That was the video actually talking about Kessel. We had some more names that we didn't go over because I wanted to save them for future videos. Yeah, that's kind of how the strategy works at this point, isn't it? So, Reilly Smith and the Rangers. What exactly could this look like? If Reilly Smith goes over to New York all of a sudden, I'm sorry, Dryden Hunt, you've been playing well, but you're no longer in that top six. Capo, Kakko, and Kreider have been really meshing well together with that Zibanejad line. Strome and Panarin, you can't break up that duo. Adding a guy like Reilly Smith, who is really versatile, as Dan Rosén said. He can go up, he can score some goals, he can make some really good plays, he can play well in his own zone too. Reilly Smith is just a pretty solid complementary forward that really excels when he's playing with top-tier talent. In fact, even when he's not playing with top-tier talent, he still excels. His first season with the Vegas Golden Knights, he was under a point per game with 60 points. And, I mean, he's playing with Marchessault, and they had Perron and William Karlsson. They're all good players, but you know, the Vegas Golden Knights in their first year were not really noted for their star power. It was mostly for their teamwork and their effort as a cohesive unit. The New York Rangers, in my opinion, could benefit from that kind of experience, and especially under Gerard Gallant being there, he's a guy that knows how to use a guy like Reilly Smith to the best of his potential. So this is a kind of trade that in my mind makes a lot more sense than Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel obviously has the more attractive name because his star power and everything we know about Kessel over the past decade and a half, it's kind of put him into this godlike meme lord status amongst NHL fans in a way. But for Reilly Smith, I do think his versatility as a hockey player could serve a lot more than Phil Kessel and his somewhat one-dimensional quote-unquote goal-scoring ability and snapshot. It's just, what would you give up though? The Rangers have a boatload of picks, they have a boatload of prospects, and frankly, if I'm thinking about it, that's kind of what the Vegas Golden Knights need, don't they? They just traded for Jack Eichel, so they got rid of Peyton Krebs. We already made a video talking about how they got rid of every first-round pick that they had at the beginning of their tenure. In 2017, Cody Glass, sorry, he's gone. Nolan Patrick is back. Nick Suzuki, gone. You have yourselves Pacioretty back. Braunstrom, gone. You have yourselves Mark Stone back. Then you give it a few more years, you trade away some more first-round picks for Thomas Tatar and all that stuff. You trade away Peyton Krebs in that Jack Eichel trade. So this team does kind of need some more prospects, and the Rangers have a ton of those. The Rangers did a really good job at stockpiling draft picks and young guys, and I really do like the track record they have of the guys they have drafted, so it probably would be somewhere in the realm of, I don't know, a first-round pick and maybe a B-tier prospect, or a first-round pick and a second and a C-tier prospect, something like that to actually make things go through. Or you could go a first-round prospect or an A-tier prospect as well as a second and a third or 2 seconds or whatever. There is some flexibility here because the Rangers would have the cap space to take on a guy like Reilly Smith, and the Vegas Golden Knights would probably need to get all futures to make things work with their cap once Eichel comes back. So this is a better idea to me than the Phil Kessel one, mostly because I do think that Reilly Smith could excel a lot more in a Rangers system that has a few diversified scoring lines and that has Gerard Gallant as the guy in charge. But let me know in the comments if you're a Rangers fan, would you like to see Reilly Smith on your team more or Phil Kessel? Assume they cost the same. Even take out the trade proposal and everything, because I do think that Kessel probably would be a little bit more valuable in a trade-like scenario. 1 for 1, Smith or Kessel, which one do you like more? Vegas Golden Knights fans, talk to me in the comments. What do you want from New York, assuming you trade a guy like Reilly Smith over there? And would you even want to depart with a guy like this? He is your second best point scorer after all. Is he okay, we need to keep this guy, screw the contract, screw the fact that he expires next season, we need to keep this guy? Or is it a small price to pay for salvation when talking about Jack Eichel making his debut with your team? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.